My name's Tom Nobbe. I'm the executive director of the 2014 Gay Games, which are going to be held here in Cleveland and Akron in about 3 years' time. I'm also one of the founding members of the Health Issues Taskforce, which is the name that was used prior to the current organizational name of the AIDS Taskforce of Greater Cleveland. So my earliest memories of HIV/AIDS are of fear initially. Back in the 80s, there was a lot of unknowns about HIV and AIDS. It was called AIDS at the time. HIV wasn't even part of the vernacular. And the first real memory I have is going to a meeting, a group meeting of people with AIDS who I had never met before. It was at a friend's home who was a social worker. I was really scared about going to that meeting. I had never met a person who had AIDS. And I went to the meeting and sat among about a dozen guys who had AIDS and in various stages of AIDS. It was a transformational experience for me to meet people who were ill with this disease, who were being treated as pariahs for the most part. And it also alleviated a lot of my fears about catching AIDS, because back then that was huge. You know, there were just all kinds of urban myths and other things going around about you could catch AIDS, you know, on a toilet bowl or through, you know, touching someone with AIDS, even kissing someone with AIDS. But getting the opportunity to actually sit down with people who had AIDS and get to know them as human beings just was transformational for me. And I always think back to that was my first real memory of the reality of AIDS and how it was impacting people. The second memory that I have was a sweet man who contracted AIDS through a blood transfusion. He had hemophilia. His name was Ray Weiss. He was just a great guy. And he was the first person with AIDS that I developed a close relationship with, and was there, you know, when he died. He actually worked for the Health Issues Taskforce. He was a straight man, but got very close to the organization because of how it was helping him and supporting him. And that took it another step for me, from being in that group, in that living room with 12 people with AIDS who I kind of, you know, I was around and got to know a little, to having a pretty profound relationship with someone who I knew was going to die. Because back then, AIDS was a death warrant. The third thing that I would say memory is the Episcopal Church's reception of the Health Issues Taskforce as an organization that it would provide space for. We were not welcome in just about any venue, church or otherwise, and we had difficulty finding office space. The Episcopal Diocese leased space right on Euclid Avenue, down a ways from where the task force is located now, and welcomed us with open arms. And to this day, I will always be thankful to the diocese, to the bishop at the time, and everyone involved for taking us in. And that really, to me, was a real, you know, the next phase of who we were. Gave us even more legitimacy and credibility as an organization. I think about all of the people that I knew who have been gone a long time, who, when they contracted the disease, it was a death warrant, and we all knew that we were going to lose them. Today, 30 years later, because of the work of healthcare folks, researchers, and the work of organizations like the AIDS Taskforce of Greater Cleveland, it's really no longer a death warrant. It's a chronic disease that can be managed, and those folks are likely to stay around a long time.